when my son walked into my kitchen and told me his family was moving in. His wife, her mother, their kids. I said one word, fine. He thought it meant surrender. But after 40 years of cleaning motel rooms, scrubbing floors, and paying every penny of that mortgage, fine meant something else. It meant I was done being quiet. Done being useful only when needed. That night, I called my oldest friend. By morning, we had a plan. Not to fight for space, but to reclaim what was mine. My home, my peace, and my name May Delgado. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The door opened without a knock. Ryan stood in my kitchen like he owned the air. I was holding the coffee pot. Steam rose between us. He said they were moving in. Not asking, telling. His wife Brianna, their 2 kids, her mother Norma, all of them, into my house. The apartment was too small, he said. Money was tight. I had space. I was alone. I shouldn't be. He walked through my living room measuring walls with his eyes. 3 weeks earlier, I had woken to silence I earned. 40 years of work bought this house. Motel bathrooms, office floors, hands in bleach water, knees on tile. My husband died young. 5 kids grew up here. The mortgage took decades. Every payment hurt. Now the house was mine. Paid off. Quiet. Ryan paced past the sewing table I built from scratch. He pointed at the guest room. Norma would sleep there. The sewing room would become a bunk. Max and Elsie. The living room would hold their overflow. He talked like a landlord touring a vacant property. I stood still. The pot grew heavy in my hand. He said I needed company. That living alone was unsafe. His voice carried certainty. Mine carried 40 years. I thought of the curtains I sewed for this window. The tomato plant I nursed on the back step. The mornings I drank coffee without explaining myself. Ryan was my son. I loved him. But love is not a lease agreement. He kept talking. I kept calculating. If they moved in, the quiet would disappear. Norma needed care. Brianna needed space. The kids needed supervision. None of them asked what I needed. Ryan finished his speech. He waited for my yes. The old me would have nodded. Smiled. Made room. The old me raised 5 kids and never said stop. But I was 70 now. I had earned my silence. I told him fine. The word sat between us like a period. He smiled. He thought fine meant surrender. He hugged me. Thanked me. Called me generous. He said they would start packing this week. The door closed behind him. The latch clicked. I stood in the kitchen I scrubbed clean yesterday. Sunlight crossed the counter. Dust moved through it. My reflection stared back from the window over the sink. I looked older than I felt. Smaller than I was. But my hands were steady. My mind was clear. I picked up my phone. Found Lila's name. She answered on the second ring. Voice calm. Ready. I told her Ryan announced they were moving in. She asked what I wanted. Simple. Direct. The question hit like cold water. What did I want? Not what they needed. Not what made sense. What I wanted. I wanted my house to stay mine. I wanted mornings alone. Evenings in silence. I wanted to sew without audience. Sleep without schedule. Lila asked if I was ready to say no. Not the soft no that gets ignored. The hard no. The one with locks and documents. I said yes. She told me to meet her at dawn. We would make a plan. A real one. I hung up. The kitchen felt different now. The walls held possibility instead of surrender. I washed the coffee pot. Dried it. Put it away. Tomorrow I would start building my boundary. Tonight I would sleep in a house still mine. Ryan texted before bed. Said Brianna was excited. The kids were counting days. Norma was relieved. He sent a photo of boxes already half-packed. I looked at the image. Cardboard, tape, marker labels, other people's lives, waiting to land in my rooms. I turned off the phone. Set it face down. The bedroom was dark. The window cracked open. Cool air moved the curtains. I hemmed myself. Outside, the neighborhood settled into sleep. Cars parked. Porch lights dimmed. Dogs stopped barking. I lay in bed I had made alone for years. My breath slowed. My pulse steadied. Sleep came in pieces. Shallow. Aware. But I did not regret the word fine. It bought me time. Time to think. Time to act. Ryan thought he had won. He was wrong. At dawn, the alarm pulled me from half-sleep. I rose. Feet on cold floor. Hands finding balance. The house was silent. Mine. Still mine. I dressed in clothes that fit my body and age. No performance. No apology. Just fabric and function. The coffee brewed. Toast browned. Vitamins lined up. Routine steadied me. Rhythm carried weight. Lila would arrive soon. We would begin. The doorbell rang at 6:30. Polite. Expected. I opened the door to my oldest friend. She wore walking shoes and a face that meant business. We sat at the kitchen table where truth lives. I laid out Ryan's plan. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked one question. Are you ready to do this alone if you must? I said yes. She nodded, pulled out a notebook, drew a timeline. Bank Tuesday. Realtor Wednesday. Paperwork Friday. If Ryan brought a truck Saturday, he would meet resistance. Not tears. Not guilt. Just a locked door. We finished our coffee. Walked the neighborhood loop. Other women joined us. Faces I knew. Stories I trusted. We talked about grown children who take without asking. About houses earned and boundaries ignored. By the time I returned home, my spine felt straighter. Saying the truth out loud is lighter than carrying silence. I unlocked my door. Stepped into the cool dimness. The house waited. Patient. Ready. I had 3 days to protect what I built. 3 days to turn fine into no. 3 days to remember I was not a storage unit. I was May Delgado, 70 years old. I bought this house with my own sweat. And I would decide who lived in it. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Tuesday morning came with purpose. The alarm rang at 5:30. Darkness still pressed the windows. I rose without hesitation. Feet found the floor. The house was mine for 3 more days. Oatmeal bubbled on the stove. Steam fogged the kitchen window. I added cinnamon, brown sugar, a pinch of salt. Vitamins lined up beside my coffee mug. Orange, white, small rituals. My phone buzzed with the group chat. Women my age. Someone shared a recipe for lemon bars. Another complained about grandchildren. I typed good morning and set the phone down. The clock read 6:15. Lila would arrive soon. I dressed in navy slacks and a clean blouse. Bank visits required presentation. Respect commanded respect. The doorbell rang exactly at 7. Punctual. Reliable. Lila stood on my porch holding 2 travel mugs. She handed me one. Black coffee. No sugar. We sat at the kitchen table that knew our secrets. I spread out the notebook from yesterday. Timeline. Tasks. Targets. Today was the bank. Tomorrow the realtor. Friday the paperwork. Lila asked if I slept. I told her enough. She asked if Ryan called. I said twice. Both times I let it ring. Both times he left messages. The first said he found a good moving company. The second said Brianna wanted to bring the kids by. To see their new rooms. To get excited. I deleted both without responding. Silence is also an answer. We finished our coffee. Collected purses. Locked the door behind us. The morning air was cool. Dew covered the grass. Lila's car smelled like vanilla air freshener and determination. We drove through streets I walked 1,000 times. Past the elementary school where I raised my kids. Past the market where I still knew the cashiers' names. The bank sat on the corner. Brick building. Blue awning. We parked in the lot. Walked through glass doors. The lobby was quiet. Tellers counted drawers. Music played softly. A young woman approached. Name tag said Jennifer. Bright smile. I told her I needed to see someone about my accounts. She led us to a desk near the back. Offered water. The banker arrived. Mid-40s. Neat tie. Tired eyes. His name was Michael. He shook my hand firmly. I told him I needed to move money. Prepare for a purchase. He asked how much. I told him the number. His eyebrows lifted slightly, then reset to professional. For 20 years I had tucked away small bills. Hemming pants for neighbors. Mending curtains. Altering dresses. $5 here. 10 there. Sometimes 20. Cash work. Side income. Money Ryan never knew about. Money no one could claim or touch or spend. It lived in a savings account I opened alone. Modest interest. Steady growth. Silent accumulation. Michael typed into his computer. Numbers appeared on screen. He asked where I wanted the funds transferred. I gave him the account number I memorized yesterday. Checking. Liquid. Ready to move when I needed it. He processed the request. Printed forms. Showed me signature lines. My hand moved across paper. Blue ink. Clear strokes. Lila sat beside me. Witness. Anchor. Sister in spirit. Michael handed me a receipt. The transaction was complete. Freedom has a dollar amount. Mine was enough. We left the bank at 9:30. Sunlight warmed the sidewalk. Lila suggested breakfast. I suggested we keep moving. The realty office sat 3 blocks away. Small. Independent. A woman named Dana Brooks ran it. Reputation for discretion. Lila knew her from church. Recommended her last week. We walked in. Bell chimed above the door. Dana looked up from her desk. Gray hair. Kind eyes. She recognized Lila. Extended her hand to me. I told her my situation. House paid off. Needed to sell fast. Needed to buy something smaller. Simpler. Soon. Dana listened without interrupting. Took notes on a yellow pad. She asked if I had a timeline. I said Saturday. Her pen paused. She looked at me directly. That was aggressive, she said. But possible. She asked if anyone else held interest in the property. I said no. Just me. Sole owner. Clear title. She asked if I had a price in mind. I named a number below market. Speed mattered more than profit. Dana nodded. Said she had 2 potential buyers already. Investors. Cash offers. Quick closings. No inspection drama. She could have contracts drawn by tomorrow. Signatures by Thursday. Then she opened a folder. Showed me listings. Small houses. 2 bedrooms. Quiet neighborhoods. Reasonable prices. One caught my eye. Maple Street. New roof. Fenced yard. I asked if it was available. She said yes. The owner was relocating. Motivated. Would accept a fast close. I asked the price. She told me. It fit. Dana made calls while we waited. Spoke in professional tones. She confirmed showings. Confirmed interest. Confirmed timelines. By noon, I had appointments for both sides. Buyers would see my house Wednesday morning. I would see Maple Street Wednesday afternoon. If both parties agreed, contracts would fly by Thursday. Dana walked us to the door. Handed me her card. She told me to call anytime. Day or night. Then she said something that mattered. She said courage looks different at 70. Lila and I drove to the diner on 5th Street. Red vinyl booths. Laminated menus. Coffee that never stopped. We ordered soup and sandwiches. Ate without rushing. Around us, people lived ordinary Tuesdays. Unaware. Unburdened. A mother wiped a toddler's face. A man read the newspaper. 2 teenagers shared fries and secrets. Life continued everywhere. I felt both invisible and seen. Both fragile and strong. Lila asked if I was scared. I said yes. She asked if I was sure. I said also yes. Both things could be true. Fear does not cancel certainty. We finished lunch. Split the check. Left a good tip. Outside, clouds moved across the sky. Temperature dropped slightly. We walked back to Lila's car. Drove toward my house. The street looked the same. Mailboxes. Driveways. Trimmed hedges. But everything had shifted. I was leaving. Soon. Finally. Lila parked at the curb. Engine idling. Heater humming. She asked what I needed next. I said time alone. She hugged me across the console. Tight. Brief. Real. Then she drove away. Taillights disappeared around the corner. I stood on my driveway. Key in hand. The house waited. Blue paint. White trim. Familiar windows. Inside, everything looked the same. But the air felt different. I walked through rooms I knew by heart. The living room where babies learned to crawl. The kitchen where I taught children to crack eggs. The hallway where height marks climbed the doorframe. This house held my history. But history is not hostage. I could leave and still carry what mattered. The sewing machine sat in the corner. Covered. Patient. I uncovered it. Ran my hand across the metal body. 40 years old. Still worked. Still hummed when fed thread. It would come with me. Some things are not negotiable. My phone buzzed. Ryan again. This time a text. He said Brianna wanted to come by tomorrow. Bring paint samples. She was excited to redecorate. Make it feel like home. I read the message twice. Anger rose, then settled. They were planning a life in my house. Without permission. Measuring curtains for windows I paid for. Choosing colors for walls I painted. I did not respond. I turned the phone to silent. Evening came slowly. Light drained from the sky. I made soup from leftovers. Ate standing at the counter. The neighborhood settled into dinner routines. Lights glowed in windows. I washed my bowl. Dried it. Put it away. Tomorrow buyers would walk through these rooms. Judge. Offer. Decide. Tomorrow I would see the house that could be mine. Tomorrow I would move closer to the locked door Ryan would meet. I checked the locks. Front. Back. Windows. Not from fear. From practice. From ownership. Before bed, I stood in the doorway of the sewing room. Fabric stacked on shelves. Patterns organized in boxes. Scissors hanging on hooks. Thread arranged by color. This room was mine. Built from scraps and determination. Ryan wanted to take it. Turn it into bunk beds and toy bins. But some spaces are sacred. Some boundaries are walls. I turned off the light. Walked to my bedroom. The mattress knew my shape. The pillow held my scent. I lay in darkness, listened to the house breathe. Tomorrow would bring strangers and decisions and movement. Tonight I rested in the house I was learning to leave. Sleep came easier than expected. Deep, dreamless, earned. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Wednesday arrived with unexpected weight. The sky was gray. Rain threatened but held back. I woke at 5. No alarm needed. The body remembers urgency. Coffee brewed while I dressed. Navy cardigan. Clean jeans. Comfortable shoes. Today strangers would walk through my house. Judge its worth in dollars. Today I would walk through someone else's house. Imagine my future there. The kitchen smelled like toast and resolve. I ate standing up. Dana had texted last night. Buyers would arrive at 10. She would arrive at 9:30. Prepare me. Guide the showing. I had 2 hours to make the house look unlived in. Dishes disappeared into cabinets. Counters wiped clean. Pillows fluffed. Personal photos came down from walls. Left small nail holes behind. The house needed to look generic. Ready for other people's dreams. I worked through rooms with mechanical precision. No sentiment. Just tasks. The sewing room took longest. Fabric folded. Thread boxed. Scissors wrapped. The space looked emptier. Sadder. Like it knew what was coming. At 9:15, the doorbell rang. Too early. Unexpected. I opened the door to Brianna. Bright smile. Shopping bag in hand. She wore athleisure and optimism. Walked in without waiting for invitation. She said she brought donuts. Wanted to discuss room arrangements. The bag smelled like sugar and presumption. I did not take it. She moved through my living room like a future tenant. Measuring. Planning. She talked about where their couch would fit. Which wall needed the TV. Norma would need the guest room. It had the best light. Max and Elsie would share the sewing room. Bunk beds already ordered. Her words filled the space like smoke. I let her finish. Then I asked how much they planned to contribute. Monthly. Specifically. Brianna's smile flickered. She said whatever they could manage. Probably something. I asked if she meant a number. A commitment. A contract. She said Ryan told her I was happy to help. Family helps family. I corrected her. Said Ryan never asked me. Only informed me. Her face shifted. Confusion first. Then defense. Then careful rearrangement. She said the kids were so excited. Counting down days. Drawing pictures. She said Norma was fragile. Needed stability. Needed family close. I asked why Norma's needs outweighed mine. Got no clear answer. Brianna tried another approach. Said living alone was dangerous at my age. What if I fell? What if something happened? Who would know? I told her I had Lila. Had neighbors. Had a phone. Had a life. She said it wasn't the same as family. I disagreed. Family is who shows up without being summoned. Who asks before deciding. The room grew colder. Her smile disappeared completely. She asked if I was saying no. Voice small. Disbelieving. I said yes. I was saying no. Clearly. Finally. Permanently. She set the donut bag on my coffee table. Stood. Collected her purse. She said Ryan would be devastated. The kids would be heartbroken. I said they would survive. People do. Even children. Even Ryan. She left without another word. The door closed harder than necessary. I stood in my living room. Alone. Breathing steady. Hands calm. The donut bag sat on the table. Grease already seeping through paper. I threw it away. Washed my hands. Checked the clock. Dana would arrive in 10 minutes. Buyers in 30. I moved through the house one more time. Everything in place. Neutral. Ready. The doorbell rang at 9:30. Punctual. Professional. Dana entered with a folder and confidence. She scanned the rooms quickly. She said the house showed well. Would photograph beautifully. Would sell fast. She asked if I was ready. I said yes. More ready than expected. At 10 o'clock, a black sedan pulled into my driveway. Two people emerged. Man and woman. Mid-40s. Business casual. Dana greeted them at the door. I stepped aside. Became invisible. They walked through my house like appraisers. Detached. Calculating. Silent. The man knocked on walls. Tested faucets. Checked outlets. The woman took photos with her phone. Wide angles. Close-ups. Details. They spoke in low voices. Numbers. Potential. Square footage. Comps. I watched from the kitchen. Stranger in my own home. They spent 20 minutes total. Every room. Every closet. Every corner. Dana walked them to the door. They shook hands. Made vague positive sounds. The sedan backed out. Disappeared down the street. Gone. Dana turned to me. Said they would call within an hour. Cash buyers move fast, she said. No mortgage. No delays. No drama. We sat at my kitchen table. Waited. Drank water from my glasses. 40 minutes later, her phone rang. She answered. Listened. Nodded. She hung up. Looked at me directly. Said they were offering full price. Cash. Close in 10 days. No inspection. As is condition. My heart thudded once. Hard. Then settled into rhythm. I asked if that was good. She said it was exceptional. I told her to accept it. She made notes. Sent emails. Set wheels turning. At noon, we left for Maple Street. Dana drove. I watched houses pass. Neighborhoods shifted. Trees grew taller. Streets grew quieter. The house sat on a corner lot. Small. Tidy. White with green shutters. A maple tree shaded the front yard. Red leaves scattered the grass. Dana unlocked the door. We stepped into cool dimness. The living room was smaller than mine, but lighter. Windows faced south. Hardwood floors. Fresh paint. Baseboards without dust. Clean lines. The kitchen was compact. White cabinets. Newer appliances. Enough counter space. A window over the sink looked into the backyard. Small patio. Fence. Privacy. 2 bedrooms. One for me. One for guests who would actually be guests. The second bedroom had built-in shelves. Perfect for fabric. For thread. For creating. A bathroom with a walk-in shower. Grab bars already installed. Practical. Safe. I walked through each room slowly. Listened to the house. Felt its energy. This place had no history with me. No arguments. No demands. No ghosts. It was blank. Ready. Waiting for someone to claim it with intention. Dana stood in the kitchen. Asked what I thought. Voice careful. Hopeful. I told her I would take it. She smiled. Said she would make calls. We sat on the front steps while she worked her phone. Made offers. Negotiated terms. The afternoon was warmer now. Sun broke through clouds. Light touched my face. A neighbor walked past with a small dog. Waved. Kept moving. Respectful distance. This neighborhood felt different. Quieter. Older. People who understood boundaries. Dana hung up. Said the seller accepted my offer. Close in 2 weeks. Both houses would transfer nearly simultaneously. Timing would be tight, but possible. I would sign papers Friday. Move out Saturday. Move in Monday. Start over Tuesday. We drove back to my house. The street looked different now. Less permanent. Dana parked at the curb. Said she would handle all paperwork. All coordination. She reminded me I could change my mind. Walk away. Stay put. I told her I was certain. She nodded. Said she believed me. After she left, I stood in my driveway. Looked at the blue house. 40 years of life pressed into walls and floors and ceilings. But a house is not a person. Bricks do not love back. Inside, I checked my phone. 7 missed calls. All Ryan. 3 voicemails. I played the first. His voice was tight, angry, betrayed. Brianna told him about our conversation. He wanted to know what happened. The second message was louder. He called me selfish, called me unreasonable, said family was supposed to sacrifice, supposed to help, supposed to say yes. The third message was different. Quieter, almost pleading. He said he needed this. Needed my help. Needed me to be his mother. I saved all 3 messages. Evidence. Record. Truth in digital form. Then I called Lila. Told her about the buyers. About Maple Street. About Brianna. She listened. Then said one sentence. Said sometimes love means letting people fall. We agreed to meet Thursday. Finalize plans. Prepare for the confrontation coming. Evening arrived with heaviness. The house felt different now. Already leaving me. I made tea. Sat in the living room. Looked at walls I painted myself. Tomorrow I would sign papers. Make it official. Make it irreversible. Tomorrow Ryan would learn the truth. The door was not just closed. It was sold. My phone buzzed again. Ryan. I let it ring. Let it go to voicemail. He would keep calling. Keep pushing. Keep trying to bend me back into shape. But I was 70. Bones do not bend after a certain age. They stand or break. I chose standing. Night fell slowly. Lights came on across the neighborhood. Families gathered in kitchens. TVs glowed in living rooms. Dogs barked occasionally. Normal life. Ordinary Wednesday. Unaware of the earthquake happening in my chest. I locked the doors. Checked windows. Turned off lights. Climbed into bed. Tomorrow would bring paperwork and finality and the point of no return. Tonight I rested in the house that was already leaving my hands. Sleep came like an old friend. Familiar. Necessary. Kind. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Thursday began before sunrise. The alarm pulled me from shallow sleep. Body stiff. Mind alert. Today I would sign papers. Make the sale binding. Final. Legal. Coffee brewed darker than usual. I needed strength in liquid form. Toast burned slightly. I ate it anyway. Char and butter. Fuel. Dana was meeting me at her office at 9. Contracts ready. Lawyers present. I dressed carefully. Gray slacks. White blouse. Navy blazer from my closet's back. Professional armor. The kind that says I know what I'm doing. At 8:15, my phone rang. Ryan. Again. I answered this time. His voice came through hot. Accusatory. Wounded and angry at once. He said Brianna told him I refused them. Rejected the plan. Destroyed their hope. I let him finish. Then asked when he planned to ask me. Not tell me. He said asking was implied. Family doesn't need formal requests. Family just is. I told him family also respects boundaries. Asks permission. Offers compensation. He said I was being difficult. Selfish. Acting like money mattered more than blood. I asked him to name one time he helped me without expecting something back. The silence stretched long, uncomfortable, empty of examples. He pivoted, said he would come by tonight. Talk this through properly. Work it out. I told him not to come. The conversation was finished. The decision was made. He said he was my son. He had a right to visit his childhood home. I told him he was correct. For 2 more days. After that, new owners decide. The line went quiet. Different kind of silence. Heavier. More confused. He asked what I meant. Voice smaller now. Less certain. Almost afraid. I told him the house was in escrow. Sold. Closing next week. Already done. The sound he made was not quite a word. More like air leaving a tire. He said I couldn't do that. It was the family home. His inheritance. His future. I reminded him the deed held only my name. Not his. Not anyone else's. He called me cruel. Said I was punishing him for needing help. For being human. I said no. I was protecting myself from being erased by his emergencies. He hung up without goodbye. The phone went dead in my hand. The kitchen felt colder. Light through the window seemed thinner. Less warm. I finished my coffee. Rinsed the mug. Set it in the drainer to dry. At 8:30, Lila arrived. She brought cinnamon rolls and steady presents. We ate standing at the counter. Sugar and solidarity. Quiet preparation. She asked if I was ready for what came next. I said I was already in it. We drove to Dana's office. Morning traffic was light. Streets were predictable. Safe. The office sat above a bookstore. Narrow stairs. Worn carpet. Functional space. Dana greeted us at the door. Led us to a small conference room. Wood table. 4 chairs. A man in his 50s sat waiting. Introduced himself as Paul, closing attorney. Papers covered the table. Contracts. Disclosures. Title transfers. Addendums. Proof. Paul explained each document. Where to sign. What it meant. What happened next. The buyers were paying cash. Verified funds. Quick close. 10 days maximum. My purchase on Maple Street would close 3 days later. Overlap minimal. Timing tight. I picked up the pen. Blue ink. Medium point. Familiar weight. My signature appeared on line after line. May Delgado. May Delgado. May Delgado. Each signature was an act of claiming. Of deciding. Of refusing to disappear. Paul notarized the documents. Stamped them with official authority. Made them real. Dana handed me a folder. Copies of everything. My records. My proof. My power. The whole process took 40 minutes. A life rearranged in less than an hour. We left the office at 10. Sunlight felt sharper. Air tasted different. Cleaner. Lila suggested lunch. I suggested we keep moving. Momentum mattered now. We drove to the hardware store. Bought packing tape. Markers. Boxes in 3 sizes. The cashier asked if I was moving. I said yes. Across town. New start. She said good for you. Gave me an extra roll of tape. On the house. Small kindnesses land differently when you're building something fragile. Something new. Back at the house, boxes leaned against the living room wall. Flat. Waiting. Patient. I started in the sewing room. Fabric first. Folded. Stacked. Labeled by color. Thread went into smaller boxes. Organized. Protected. Each spool a small promise. The sewing machine sat on the table. Silent. Heavy. Essential. Non-negotiable. Lila worked in the kitchen. Dishes wrapped in newspaper. Glasses cushioned with towels. We moved through the house like a team. Practiced. Efficient. Purposeful. Determined. At noon, the doorbell rang. Aggressive, insistent, repeated without pause. I opened the door to Ryan. Face red, eyes wild, breathing hard. He pushed past me, looked at the boxes, looked at Lila, looked at me. He demanded to know what I was doing. Voice loud, filling the space, demanding attention. I told him I was packing, moving, leaving. Exactly what I said this morning. He said I couldn't do this. Not without discussing it, not without family input. I asked which family members helped pay the mortgage. Silence answered. He said inheritance isn't about payment. It's about legacy, about family continuity. I told him inheritance is a gift, not a guarantee, not an entitlement, not a right. He walked through the house, touching walls, opening closets, inspecting rooms like an auditor. He said his kids needed this house, needed stability, needed their grandmother close. I asked why his needs erased mine. Got no answer that made sense. He tried a different strategy. Said I was too old to move, too fragile, too confused. Said he would challenge the sale, claim incompetence, get lawyers involved, protect me from myself. Lila stepped forward, told him to try, said she witnessed everything, signed nothing under duress. Her voice carried weight. Years of teaching, years of not backing down, years of knowing better. Ryan looked at her, then at me, then at the boxes filling my living room. His shoulders dropped. The fight leaked out like air from a balloon. Slow, inevitable, sad. He said he didn't understand why I was doing this, why I couldn't just help. I told him helping costs nothing when you're not the one being consumed. I told him I loved him. But love is not a lease agreement. Not a free room. Not unconditional access. He asked where he was supposed to go. What he was supposed to do. How to survive. I said the same thing he would have told me. Figure it out. People do. Even grown men. He stood in my living room. Lost. Smaller than before. More real. More human. He asked if I hated him. Voice quiet now. Barely there. Almost childlike. I told him no. I was just done being his solution. His backup plan. His safety net. He left without another word. Door closed softly this time. Almost gentle. Almost sorry. The house felt bigger after he left. Emptier, but also lighter. Less crowded with obligation. Lila and I returned to packing. The rhythm steadied us. Tape, fold, stack, label, repeat. By evening, half the house was boxed. Kitchen done. Sewing room nearly finished. Bedrooms started. We ordered pizza. Ate from paper plates. Saved the dishes for their new home. Lila left at 8. Promised to return tomorrow. Help me finish. Help me leave. Alone, I walked through rooms that barely looked like mine anymore. Boxes stacked against walls. Furniture naked without photos. Windows bare without curtains. The house was becoming a shell. Preparing to hold someone else's life. Someone else's dreams. I sat on the couch. Still here. Still mine. For 2 more days. My phone buzzed. Text from Ryan. Said he was sorry. Said he panicked. Said he understood now. I read it twice. Did not respond. Some apologies need space before acceptance. Another text came. From Brianna. Said the kids were crying. Said I was breaking hearts. I turned the phone face down. Guilt is a weapon. I refused to hold it. Night settled heavy. The house creaked. Familiar sounds. Old wood. Known rhythms. I checked the locks. Front. Back. Windows. Habit mixed with ritual. Safety and farewell. In bed, I lay in darkness. Listened to my breathing. Felt my pulse. Counted my resolve. Tomorrow was Friday. Final day before the confrontation. Before the moving truck. Before everything changed. Tomorrow I would finish packing. Prepare for the stand I promised myself. The locked door. The hard no. Tomorrow I would be ready. Not just willing. Actually ready. Sleep came slowly, interrupted by sounds that might have been memory. Or wind. Or both. But I slept. Because rest is also resistance. Also strength. Also necessary. And I would need all my strength for Saturday. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Friday morning arrived with finality. The last full day in the house I built from paychecks. Rain tapped the windows. Soft. Steady. Like the house was crying. Or I was. Coffee tasted different. Bitter. Or maybe my tongue knew what leaving meant. I dressed in comfortable clothes. Jeans. Old sweater. Moving day uniform. The boxes waited. Some sealed. Some still open. All labeled. All ready. Lila arrived at 7. Brought bagels. Brought determination. Brought herself. We worked room by room. Bedroom closet. Bathroom cabinet. Hall linen closet. Each item required a decision. Keep. Donate. Discard. The arithmetic of leaving. By 9, the doorbell rang. Not Lila's polite chime. Hard. Demanding. Official. I opened the door to a man I didn't know. Suit. Briefcase. Business card extended. He introduced himself as Cole Martin. Attorney. Said he represented my son Ryan. His voice carried authority he hadn't earned. Smooth. Professional. Purchased by the hour. He said he wanted to discuss my recent real estate decisions. Ensure they were sound. I asked who hired him. He said Ryan. Out of concern for my well-being. I told him I had my own attorney. Dana handled everything. Paperwork was clean. He said that wasn't the issue. The issue was undue influence. Questionable capacity. Family rights. His words were weapons dressed as concern. Shiny. Sharp. Carefully aimed. I asked if he had proof of incompetence. Medical records. Psychiatric evaluation. Anything real. He said proof could be gathered. Doctors could be consulted. Petitions could be filed. I told him to file them. Then asked him to leave my property. He handed me his card. Said I should reconsider. Think about family harmony. Avoid legal battles. I closed the door while he was still talking. The lock clicked. Firm. Final. Mine. Lila stood in the hallway. Asked if I was okay. I said better than expected. Threats only work when you're afraid. I had stopped being afraid on Tuesday. We returned to packing. The rhythm steadied my pulse. Tape. Fold. Stack. Breathe. At 11, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered anyway. Curiosity or defiance. A woman's voice. Older. Familiar in its judgment. My sister Margaret. Calling from Nevada. She said Ryan called her. Told her I was making terrible decisions. Abandoning family. Acting erratically. She asked if I was having memory problems. Cognitive decline. Early dementia. Something medical. I told her my mind was fine. Sharper than it had been in years actually. She said mothers don't abandon their children. Don't sell family homes. Don't choose solitude. I asked when she last visited. Last called without needing something. Last sent a card. The silence was long. Uncomfortable. Full of truth neither of us wanted to name. She said distance was different than abandonment. I disagreed. Said both leave people alone. She told me I would regret this. Would end up lonely. Would die wishing I'd said yes. I told her I had already lived lonely. In a house full of people. Doing what I was told. She hung up without goodbye. Family does that. Disappears when you stop being useful. Lila brought lunch. Sandwiches from the deli. We ate sitting on the floor. Surrounded by boxes. She asked how many people called to change my mind. I said 3 so far. Expected more. She said people fear what they don't understand. Older women claiming power. Saying no. Meaning it. We finished eating. Returned to work. The house was almost empty now. Almost ready. Almost gone. At 2, another knock. Softer this time. Tentative. Almost apologetic in sound. I opened the door to Pastor Mike Herrera. Ryan's godfather. Gray hair. Kind eyes. Soft voice. He asked if he could come in. Talk for a moment. Just a moment. Please. I let him in. Not from weakness. From curiosity. From wanting to see what Angle looked like in clerical clothing. He stood in my nearly empty living room. Looked at boxes. Looked at me. Sighed with practiced concern. He said Ryan was devastated. Brianna was distraught. The children were confused. The family was breaking. I said the family was adjusting. Big difference. One ends. One bends. Both hurt. Only one heals. He asked if we could find compromise. Some middle ground. Some way to honor everyone's needs. I asked if anyone asked what I needed before announcing their plans. He had no answer. He tried gentler persuasion. Said grandchildren need their grandmother. Need stability. Need family close. I asked where they were living now. He said with Brianna's father. Temporarily. Until something permanent emerged. I told him something permanent just emerged. Their own apartment. Their own solutions. Their own growth. He asked if I would really let my grandchildren suffer. Live in uncertainty. Experience instability. I said they were not suffering. They were learning. Learning that adults solve adult problems. He shifted tactics. Said I might regret this. Might want family close when health failed. When age advanced. I told him I was 70. Not dying. Not incompetent. Not available for guilt-based manipulation. He said he would pray for me. For the family. For reconciliation and peace. I thanked him. Said I would also pray. For boundaries and respect and courage to maintain both. He left quietly. Disappointed but polite. The door closed with a soft click. Almost sad. Lila emerged from the kitchen where she had stayed invisible. Asked if I needed anything. I said no. I needed nothing except to finish what I started. What I should have started years ago. We worked until evening. The last boxes sealed. The last rooms emptied. The last traces removed. The house looked hollow. Walls bare. Floors empty. Windows naked. Echo everywhere. Furniture remained. Couch. Table. Bed. Things the buyers wanted. Things that stayed with the house. But everything personal was boxed. Everything mine was packed. Everything coming with me was ready. Lila left at 6. Promised to return tomorrow morning. Early. Before the truck. Before Ryan. Before everything. She hugged me at the door. Longer than usual. Tighter. Like she knew what tomorrow would cost. Alone, I walked through empty rooms. Footsteps echoed. The house sounded different without life filling it. In the kitchen, I made tea. Last tea bag. Last mug from the cabinet. Last quiet moment here. The sunset came through bare windows. Orange light on bare walls. Beautiful and final and right. My phone buzzed. Text from Ryan. Said he was coming tomorrow. With the truck. As planned. Said we would work this out. Figure it out. Talk it through. Make it work. I did not respond. Tomorrow would speak for itself. Loudly. Clearly. Finally. Another text came. From Brianna. Said the kids drew pictures for their new rooms. Wanted to hang them tomorrow. I turned off the phone. Put it in my pocket. Removed the temptation to explain. To justify. To defend. Night fell slowly. The house grew dark. I did not turn on many lights. Saving the goodbye for morning. In my bedroom, I lay on the bed fully dressed. Too tired to change. Too wired to sleep. The ceiling held shadows. Familiar cracks. Water stains shaped like continents. Maps I memorized over decades. Tomorrow was Saturday. The day Ryan thought he was moving in. The day I was moving out. Tomorrow the moving truck would arrive. Ryan would meet a locked door. Lila would stand beside me. Tomorrow I would hand over keys to strangers. Walk away from 40 years. Start something new. My chest felt tight. Not from fear. From the pressure of transformation. Of becoming. Of choosing. Sleep came in fragments. Light. Broken. Aware of every sound. Every creak. Every passing car. But I slept. Because the body needs rest before battle. Before stands. Before final acts. And tomorrow was the final act. The locked door. The hard no. The line drawn in concrete. I woke at 4. Too early. Too dark. Too full of adrenaline and purpose. The house waited. Silent. Empty. Ready to release me. Ready to let go. I made coffee in the dim kitchen. Last pot in this house. Last morning here. Last dawn as owner. Outside, the sky lightened slowly. Gray first. Then pink. Then the pale blue of beginnings. Today I would finish what I started. What I should have started years ago. Today I would be brave. Not loud brave. Quiet brave. The kind that locks doors and walks away. Today I would save myself. From obligation. From erasure. From the slow death of perpetual yes. The coffee tasted strong. Good. Right. Like fuel for the fight ahead. I checked the clock. 5:30. Lila would arrive at 7. Ryan at 8. The showdown at sunrise. I was ready. Not just willing. Actually ready. Finally ready. Completely ready. The house and I had one more thing to do together. One last stand. One final boundary. Then I would leave. And we would both belong to someone else. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Saturday arrived bright and unforgiving. The kind of morning that shows everything. Hides nothing. Demands truth. I stood at the kitchen window. Coffee cooling in my hand. Watching the street. At 7, Lila's white sedan pulled to the curb. Punctual. Loyal. Present. She came to the door carrying resolve and a thermos. Emergency coffee, she said. We sat at the empty kitchen table. 2 women. 7 decades each. Done being soft. She asked if I was ready. I said as ready as terrified allows. At 7:30, the first sound came. Low rumble. Diesel engine. Growing closer. The moving truck turned onto my street. Large. White. Loud. Impossible to miss. It parked at my curb. Air brakes hissed. Engine idled. Heavy and present. Ryan's car pulled in behind it. Then Brianna's SUV. Doors opened. Bodies emerged. Max and Elsie wore excitement like costumes. Bouncing. Pointing. Claiming space already. 2 men climbed from the truck cab. Movers. Waiting for direction. For payment. Ryan approached my porch. Confident stride. key ring in hand, ready to begin. I stepped onto the porch before he reached it. Blocked the door. My body a wall. Lila stood beside me. Silent lighthouse. Steady presence. Witness to what came next. Ryan stopped at the bottom step. Smiled. The kind that expects compliance. Assumes surrender. He said good morning. Said the truck was here. Time to start unloading. I told him nothing would be unloaded. Not today. Not ever. Not here. His smile faltered. Confusion first. Then denial. Then anger building slow. He said we agreed on this. Settled this. Days ago. Already done. I told him he talked. He decided. He announced. I never agreed to anything. Brianna approached. Holding Elsie's hand. Using children as shields. As leverage. She said the kids were excited. Had been counting sleeps. Drawing pictures. Dreaming of rooms. I looked at Max and Elsie. Innocent faces. Caught in adult wars. Used as weapons. I told Brianna that was unfortunate. She should have asked before making promises. Ryan's face darkened. Red crept up his neck. Voice rising. Control slipping away. He said I was being ridiculous. Selfish. Cruel. Punishing children. Destroying family. I asked when he planned to ask permission. To offer rent. To respect boundaries. He said permission was implied. Rent would come. Respect was owed. Family first always. I told him permission is never implied. Rent needs numbers. Respect flows both directions. The movers leaned against the truck. Watching. Waiting. Neutral. Seen this before probably. Neighbors emerged onto porches. Checking mailboxes. Watering plants. All watching. All pretending not to. Ryan turned to the movers. Told them to start unloading. Begin the work. The lead mover looked at me. Asked who owned the property. Who was paying. Ryan said he was. I said that was irrelevant. I owned the house. I said no. The mover nodded. Said they needed homeowner consent. Liability. Policy. Law. Rules stayed rules. Ryan's voice went sharp. Threatened to call their supervisor. Report them. Get them fired. The mover shrugged. Said owner decides. Not renters. Not family. Owner. That was me. Ryan spun toward me. Desperation replacing anger. Voice cracking. Almost pleading now. He said I couldn't do this. Not to him. Not to family. Not legally. I told him I already did it. House was sold. Closing was done. New owners Monday. The air went still. Complete silence. Even the children stopped moving. Stopped hoping. Brianna made a sound. Small. Wounded. Like air escaping. Like something dying. She asked what I meant. Voice thin. Already knowing but needing to hear it. I told her the house was in escrow. Buyers paid cash. Paperwork signed. Keys transfer Monday. Ryan called it impossible. Called it theft of his inheritance. His birthright. His future. I reminded him the house was never promised. Never his. Only hoped for. Only assumed. He said every kid expects to inherit their childhood home. That's how families work. I asked when he helped pay the mortgage. The taxes. The insurance. The repairs. He said children don't pay for childhood homes. Parents do. That's their job. Their responsibility. I told him yes. And that job ended when the mortgage did. Finished. Done. Over. Max started crying. Quiet first. Then louder. Confused tears. Broken promises turning real. Elsie asked her father where they would live now. Voice small. Scared. Needing answers. Ryan had no answer. Just stood there. Diminished. Smaller. Stripped of his certainty, Brianna walked back to the car, shoulders shaking, holding her daughter. Escaping the scene, Ryan tried one more weapon. Said he would challenge the sale. Claim incompetence. Fight legally. I told him to try. Said my attorney would be delighted. The paperwork was bulletproof. Lila stepped forward. Said she witnessed everything. Would testify if needed. Would show up. Ryan looked at her. Then at me. Then at the house he never owned. Had already lost. He asked where I was going. What my plan was. Voice defeated now. Almost curious. I told him I bought a house across town. Smaller. Mine. Paid for with money I saved. He said he didn't know I had money saved. Didn't think I was capable. I told him that was the problem. He never asked. Never wondered. Never saw me. The movers climbed back into the truck. Engine started. The vehicle pulled away. Job cancelled. Ryan stood on my sidewalk. Lost. Defeated. Forced to face reality. Forced to find solutions. He asked what he was supposed to do now. Where he was supposed to go. I told him the same thing he would have told me. Figure it out. People do. Brianna honked from the SUV. Kids buckled in back. Waiting to leave. To escape this. Ryan walked toward the car. Slow steps. Heavy feet. Carrying weight he never felt before. He stopped. Turned back. Looked at me one more time. Searching for something. Mercy maybe. I stood on my porch. Lila beside me. Two old women who said no. Who survived it. Ryan got in the car. Doors closed. Engine started. The convoy pulled away. Down the street. Gone. The street returned to normal. Neighbors retreated inside. Show over. Life continuing. World spinning still. I sat on the porch step. Legs suddenly weak. Hands shaking. Adrenaline draining away. Lila sat beside me. Put her arm around my shoulders. Steady. Warm. Real. Loyal. We sat in silence. Breathing. Existing. Processing what just happened. What just ended. A car pulled up. Dana. Right on time. Folder in hand. Professional. Final. She walked up the path. Asked if I was okay. I nodded. More okay than expected. She handed me papers. Final documents. Keys to Maple Street. Small. Silver. Light as air. I signed where she indicated. Last signatures in this house. Last claim. Last goodbye. She placed a check in my hand. Sale proceeds. Still substantial. Still mine. Still freedom. She asked when I wanted to leave. I said now. Today. Before I changed my mind. Lila brought her car to the driveway. Opened the trunk. Ready. Waiting. Willing. We loaded the boxes. One by one. Careful. Deliberate. Final. Everything that mattered. The sewing machine went in last. Heavy. Precious. Coming with me. Starting over with me. I stood in the doorway one last time. Looked at empty rooms. Bare walls. Echoes. 40 years lived here. 5 children raised. 1 husband buried from here. History everywhere. But a house is not a person. Walls don't love back. Only we remember. I locked the door. Put the key in the lockbox. Walked down the steps. I did not look back. Looking back makes you salt. Makes you stuck. I kept moving forward. Lila drove slowly through streets I knew by heart. Past landmarks. Past history. Past the woman I was. Toward Maple Street. Toward new rooms. Toward quiet. Toward choice. Toward me. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The house on Maple Street sat quiet in afternoon light. White siding. Green shutters. Red leaves scattered across the small lawn. Lila parked in the driveway. Engine ticked as it cooled. We sat in silence. The key felt strange in my palm. Small, silver, light, heavy with meaning. I opened the car door. Feet found pavement. Legs steadier than expected. The front door unlocked smoothly. New locks. Clean tumblers. No resistance. No history. Inside, the air smelled like paint and possibility. Fresh. Neutral. Waiting to be claimed. Sunlight poured through south-facing windows. Bright rooms. Clean floors. Space that fit one person. The living room was smaller than my old one. But it breathed. It welcomed. Lila carried boxes to the kitchen. Set them on clean counters. Opened cabinets. I walked through each room slowly. Touching walls. Testing light switches. Learning the bones. 2 bedrooms. One for sleeping. One for sewing. For creating. For becoming. The second bedroom had built-in shelves. Perfect for fabric. For thread. For the work that saved me. A bathroom with a walk-in shower. Grab bars already installed. Someone planned ahead. The backyard was small. Fenced. Private. A patio. Space for a chair. For tomatoes. For mornings alone. We unloaded the car. Box by box. Trip by trip. Building a new life in armfuls. The sewing machine found its table by the window. Afternoon light fell across its metal body. I plugged it in. Turned it on. The motor hummed. Alive. Ready. Loyal as ever. Dishes went into cabinets. Towels into the linen closet. Clothes into the bedroom dresser. By evening, the house looked lived in. Not finished. But inhabited. Claimed. Mine. Lila ordered pizza. We ate sitting on the living room floor. Paper plates. Simple. Good. She asked how I felt. I said strange. Unmoored. Free. Terrified. All of it at once. She said that made sense. That leaving and arriving rarely feel clean. Feel simple. She left at 8. Promised to check in tomorrow. Hugged me at the door. Longer than usual. Alone, I walked through the house again. Slower this time. Letting it settle. Letting myself settle. The quiet was different here. No history. No echoes. No voices demanding space. Just silence. Mine. I made tea. Stood at the kitchen window. Watched the neighbor's cat cross the fence. Orange. Fat. Unbothered. My phone sat on the counter. Face down. Silent. I had turned it off this morning. Part of me wanted to check it. See if Ryan called. If anyone noticed I was gone. Part of me knew better. Knew that checking would invite them back. Would crack the door. I left the phone off. Finished my tea. Washed the mug. Set it in the drainer. The bedroom felt strange. New mattress. Different walls. Windows facing east instead of west. I lay in darkness. Listened to unfamiliar sounds. The house settling. The refrigerator humming. A dog barking. Sleep came in pieces. Light. Broken. Aware of every creak. Every shift. Every newness. But I slept. Because the body needs rest. Because tomorrow would come regardless. Because I was safe. Sunday morning arrived gentle. No alarm. No urgency. Just light creeping through unfamiliar curtains. I made coffee in a kitchen that didn't know my rhythms yet. Found mugs. Found spoons. The neighborhood was quiet. Early. Only birdsong. Only wind moving through maple leaves. Only peace. I sat on the back patio. Small chair. Warm mug. Cool air. Breathing space I earned. At 9, my phone buzzed from the counter. Still off. But the vibration carried. Insistent. I ignored it. Finished my coffee. Walked the backyard perimeter. Measured what could grow here. At 10, I turned the phone on. Watched it come to life. Messages flooded in. Ryan. Brianna. My sister Margaret. Pastor Mike. Numbers I didn't recognize. All wanting something. I listened to one voicemail. Ryan's voice. Tight. Angry. Demanding I call back immediately. I deleted it. Deleted all of them. Unheard. Unread. Refused. Boundary drawn in digital silence. One text caught my eye. From Dana. Said final closing documents would arrive Monday. Everything finalized. I responded. Said thank you. Said I was settled. Said I was good. Short. Clear. Honest. The rest of the day unfolded slowly. Unpacking. Arranging. Finding homes for things in new spaces. Books on shelves. Photos on one wall only. Not every wall. Not every surface. Just enough. The sewing room came together like a prayer. Fabric organized by color. Thread by shade. Patterns filed in boxes. Pins in cushions. The machine ready. The space sacred. The room mine. At noon, the doorbell rang. Unexpected. Unwelcome. Heart jumped before settling. Deep breath. I opened the door to a woman my age. Gray hair. Kind face. Holding a casserole dish. She introduced herself as Helen. Lived 3 doors down. Saw me moving in yesterday. Brought lasagna. Her voice was warm. No questions. No judgment. No invasion. Just neighborly. Just kind. I thanked her. Took the dish. Heavy. Still warm. Smelling like oregano and generosity. She said if I needed anything to knock. Then she left. No lingering. No demands. I put the lasagna in the refrigerator. Stood in the kitchen. Felt something shift. Something settle. This neighborhood didn't know my story. Didn't know Ryan. Didn't know what I left. What I survived. Here I was just May. New neighbor. Woman who moved in Saturday. Person starting over. Nothing more. Monday morning came with purpose. Final closing day. Official end. Official beginning. Official everything. Dana arrived at 10 with a folder thick with documents. Contracts. Deeds. Transfers. Proof of ownership. We sat at my new kitchen table. Signed where she indicated. Initialed. Dated. Made it permanent. She handed me copies of everything. My old house sold. My new house purchased. Clean transactions. She said I did good work. Brave work. Work she wished more women had courage to attempt. After she left, I sat in the quiet. Paperwork spread before me. Evidence of transformation. Of choice. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered carefully. Voice steady. Ready for anything. A man's voice. Professional. Clipped. Said he was calling about unpaid storage fees. For Ryan Delgado. He said Ryan listed me as emergency contact. Said his storage unit was 3 months behind. I told him I was not responsible for my son's debts. Not listed. Not liable. Not paying. He tried persuasion. Said family helps family. Said I wouldn't want his things sold. I told him to auction whatever he needed. Said Ryan was an adult. His choices. His consequences. I hung up. Blocked the number. Refused to be the net. The backup. The solution. The week unfolded gently. Days found rhythm. Coffee at dawn. Walk at 8. Sewing after lunch. Wednesday I joined a painting class at the community center. Watercolors. Landscapes. Bad attempts that made me laugh. Thursday I hemmed pants for Helen. First paying job in the new house. First money earned here. By the second week, my body stopped bracing for invasion. For demands. For Ryan appearing. The phone still rang sometimes. Ryan's number. Brianna's. I let them ring. Let them learn silence speaks. One voicemail broke the pattern. Max's voice. Small. Uncertain. Asking if I was okay. That one hurt. Sharp. Clean. Direct to the center. Children shouldn't pay for adult wars. I called back. Let it ring. Brianna answered. Voice cold. Clipped. Armored against me. I asked to speak to Max. She said he was at school. I asked when was good. She said never. The cut was clean. Intentional. Punishment disguised as protection. Using children as weapons. As leverage. I sat with the pain. Let it breathe. Let it exist. Didn't try to fix it. Love and boundaries can coexist. Both real. Both necessary. Both painful when first established. Both essential. 3 weeks after moving, I woke without checking the locks twice. Without listening for engines. Without expecting invasion. The house felt like mine. The street felt safe. The life felt possible. Not perfect. But mine. I made coffee. Stood at the window. Watched the neighborhood wake. Cars leaving. Dogs walking. Life continuing. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. 3 months passed like water finding its level. Slow at first. Then steady. Then natural. Then just life. The tomato plant on my back patio grew stubborn and determined. Like me. Green fruit appeared in clusters. Small promises waiting to ripen. To become something. Mornings found their rhythm. Coffee at 6. Walk at 7. Sewing by 9. The neighborhood ladies invited me to their Friday coffee group. I went. Kept going. They talked about grandchildren and recipes and the weather. Safe topics. Easy conversation. No judgment. Helen from 3 doors down became more than a neighbor. Became a friend. We walked together Tuesdays and Thursdays. Steady pace. Comfortable silence. Stories when needed. She asked about my family once. Just once. I said it was complicated. She nodded. Never asked again. The sewing work increased. Word traveled through the neighborhood. Through church. Through coffee groups. Hems. Alterations. Simple repairs. Cash work. Quiet income. Money that was mine completely. I charged fair prices. Did good work. Delivered on time. Built something small. Something sustainable. Something mine. Lila visited every Sunday. Brought pastries. Brought updates. Brought herself. Always herself. Always steady. We sat on my back patio. Watched the tomato plant grow. Talked about everything. Talked about nothing. She told me Ryan found an apartment. 2 bedrooms. Across town. Near Brianna's father. They were managing. Tight budget. No extras. But managing. Learning. Growing up finally. I felt relief more than guilt. Relief that he was solving problems. Finding solutions. Standing up. The money from selling the house sat in my account. Cushion. Safety. Freedom. Peace of mind. I paid bills without panic. Bought groceries without calculating. Lived without the edge of financial terror. Small luxuries appeared. New shoes. Better coffee. A lamp for the sewing room. Things that mattered. My phone stayed quiet most days. Ryan stopped calling. Brianna stopped texting. Margaret stopped lecturing. The silence felt like exhaling. Like setting down weight. Like finally being allowed to rest. But Max's voicemail lived in my saved messages. His small voice asking if I was okay. Some nights I played it. Let myself feel the ache. The price of boundaries. The cost of freedom. Love and distance can coexist. Both real. Both necessary. Both painful in their own way. One Saturday in late fall, the doorbell rang. Unexpected. Unfamiliar. Heart jumped slightly. I opened the door to two small faces. Max and Elsie, standing on my porch, holding hands. Behind them, Ryan's car idled at the curb. He stayed inside, hands on the wheel, not approaching. Max held a comic book. Elsie held a drawing. Both looked uncertain, hopeful, scared of rejection. I bent to their height, looked them in the eyes, smiled without forcing it, asked if they wanted to come in, make cookies, watch cartoons, spend some time, just us. Their faces lit up, small suns breaking through clouds, relief and joy mixing together. They ran inside, shoes off at the door, voices filling my quiet house, life returning in small doses. We made chocolate chip cookies. They stood on stools, measured flour, cracked eggs, made messes. The kitchen smelled like butter and sugar in childhood. Like second chances, like starting over. While cookies baked, we sat on the living room floor. They showed me their drawings, their comics. Max talked about school, about his teacher, about a friend who collected rocks. Normal kid things. Elsie showed me a picture she drew. A house, flowers, stick figures labeled Grandma and me. My chest tightened, not from guilt, from love, from the complicated truth that both can exist. We watched cartoons, paused for cookie breaks, laughed at the same jokes, existed together simply. At 3, Ryan texted, said he was picking them up, asked if he could come to the door. I said yes, not because I owed him anything, because I chose it, because I was ready. He walked up the path slowly, careful steps, like approaching something fragile, something earned, something new. He stood on my porch, looked different, thinner, tired, more real, less entitled, more human. He said the last 3 months were hard. Really hard. Harder than he expected. Harder than seemed fair. I told him hard is how people learn. How they grow. How they become who they need to be. He said he was wrong. Wrong to assume. Wrong to demand. Wrong to treat me like a backup plan. Said he was sorry. Not the quick sorry that wants forgiveness. The slow sorry that knows it hurt someone. I told him I wasn't his enemy. Just unwilling to disappear into his emergencies. His needs. His plans. He nodded. Said he understood now. Finally understood. Wished he understood sooner. Before it cost so much. I asked about Brianna. About Norma. About how they were managing. Really managing. He said it was tight. Stressful. Exhausting. But they were doing it. Figuring it out. Growing up. Said Brianna was working more hours. He picked up weekend shifts. They had a budget. They followed it. Said it wasn't the life he imagined. But it was the life he was building. With his own hands. I told him I was proud of that. Of him. Of the work he was doing. Of the man he was becoming. His eyes got wet. He blinked fast. Nodded. Cleared his throat. Looked at his feet. Asked if the kids could visit sometimes. Saturdays maybe. Just a few hours. Just time with Grandma. I said yes. Saturdays worked. With advance notice. With respect for my schedule. With boundaries clear. He said he would text first. Always ask. Never assume. Never demand. Never take for granted. The kids ran to the door. Faces chocolatey. Smiles genuine. Hugs tight and real and uncomplicated. They climbed into Ryan's car. waved from windows, called goodbye, called see you next week, called I love you. I waved back, stood on my porch, watched them drive away, felt the ache, felt the peace, felt both. The house settled back into quiet. Different quiet than before, not empty, just resting, just breathing. I cleaned the kitchen, washed mixing bowls, wiped counters, put away ingredients, returned to routine. The sewing machine waited by the window, faithful, patient, ready for whatever came next. I sat at the table, fed fabric under the needle, watched stitches form clean lines, made something from nothing. Outside, the sun lowered. Golden light spread across the backyard. Tomatoes glowed red, finally ripe, finally ready. I picked 3, warm from the sun, heavy in my palm. Reward for patience, for tending, for waiting. That night I made a salad. Fresh tomato, good olive oil, sea salt, simple, perfect, mine. I ate standing at the counter, looking out at my small yard, my small house, my small life. Not small like insufficient, small like manageable, like mine, like enough, like exactly right. The phone buzzed. Text from Ryan. Said the kids had a great time. Said thank you. Said see you next Saturday. I responded. Said I enjoyed it too. Said Saturday works. Said good night. Short, clear, boundaried, kind. Lila called as I was washing dishes. Asked how the visit went. If I was okay. If I needed anything. I told her it went well. Better than expected. Healing in small ways. In slow ways. In real ways. She said she was proud of me. Of the boundaries I held. Of the door I cracked open. Of the balance I found. We talked for an hour. About nothing important. About everything that mattered. About life continuing forward. After hanging up, I sat in my living room. Lamp glowing. House quiet. World outside sleeping. I thought about the woman I was 3 months ago. Standing on that porch. Facing that truck. Saying no. The bravest moment felt like that day. The locked door. The hard stand. The final boundary. But maybe bravery was quieter than that. Maybe it was this. The after. The continuation. The daily renewal. The promise I made every morning. To protect this peace. To honor this space. To keep myself whole. People think strength is dramatic. Loud. Explosive. One big moment that changes everything forever. But strength is also this. Waking up. Making coffee. Tending tomatoes. Saying yes when it's safe. Saying no when it's not. Strength is stitching fabric. Walking with friends. Opening the door to grandchildren. Closing it to demands. Strength is living alone without being lonely. Being quiet without being silenced. Being free without being selfish. I checked the locks. Front door. Back door. Windows. Not from fear. From care. From ownership. The house and I had an agreement. I would keep us both safe. Protected. Honored. Whole. In bed, I lay in darkness. Listened to familiar sounds now. The house settling. The refrigerator humming. The tree branches scratching the window. Sleep came easier now. Deeper. More trusting. The body learning safety. The mind learning peace. Tomorrow would bring coffee and walking and sewing and living. Simple things. Good things. Mine things. Tomorrow I would wake in a house I chose. In a life I built. In a freedom I earned. And that was enough. More than enough. Everything.